Good day, hello, welcome to Barcast. I don't know what episode this is now. Barcast after the last training. Welcome, guys, to Barcast. I'm Salt.
I'm George.
And we've got the champions in the house today. I want to say good morning and welcome, ladies first, to Amaris Chase. Right? That's correct?
Yes.
And Mr. Darren Matthews.
Hey.
How you doing? How y'all guys doing?
We're fine. I'm fine.
Good.
Amaris, I don't even know how to speak to you right now because all the times I've ever seen Amaris before, it has been in full workout gear. And no makeup, no glasses. I didn't even know Amaris wears glasses. So this is a whole different side to Amaris Chase on this podcast.
Most people that you think I actually say that.
Real talk?
Yes, most people when they see me, they don't recognize me because we just see me working out.
They know you from working out.
Or
So
running.
tell me, right? So how did you get into bar? To the Barbados Adventure Race?
I actually saw it on Instagram, so I didn't really know what it was. I remember I just saw like a picture of some people walking through some water, and it was like, what are these people doing? These kind of things in Barbados. So I started and they clicked on it, and they saw it was a team event at the time. And then I asked a few people if they wanted to do it, and they were like, nah. It was like, no, it looked a bit much. That was June last year. Then last November, I was just in the gym and somebody asked me if I wanted to do it. It was like, sure.
Right.
But at that point, I still didn't know exactly what it was. But it just looked like fun. Like anything, I guess, outdoors.
So you had an athletic background. You used to play sports before.
Yes, I started out doing track. I used to run the 8 to 15.
Middle distance.
Yeah. Then when I got to university, I transitioned to hockey. So I played national hockey for a few years.
Was you transitioned to hockey at university level and made the national team?
Yes, in like 2 years. That was not expected. That was not my goal. I just started training and
Interesting.
I was asked to join because they do a selection where they just put you in kind of training and then they would choose the team from there.
Yeah.
So I made the training squad and I made the team my first time in this training squad. So that was unexpected. And
So you would say you're naturally athletic, naturally
yes, I definitely I like to run, basically.
Right.
Anything that I guess physically challenging, something I would definitely try.
So I remember the first time I would have seen you around the Barbados Adventure Race scene would have been the pop-up last year at Weymouth B. And me personally, I remember being in the heat and looking around. I think I had gotten there late. So I was running in the last heat. Kurt and Marlon would have dominated the first heat. So I was looking around. There was a lot of people from ICBL who were actually in our heat. So I was like, well, hobby from Bobby here. Hey, let's come and wash off these. And then everybody take off hard. And it's like, they may know what's going on. They may know what to expect. Amaris had taken off hard with them. So I was like, that girl, she coming back too. Right. And she never came back. So from the first day that you came on the bar circuit, you had exhibited a propensity to be able to adapt to obstacles. Where do you think that comes from?
I'm not sure. I think I just had a good cardio base. Because I never did anything where I had to carry anything before.
Yeah.
I definitely never focused on the upper body strength. I did not want to go to the gym and do pull-ups or anything. So that was my first time carrying anything, period.
Right.
So I guess it was taxing, but I guess I was just able to push through it.
Because of the cardio base.
Yeah.
And then straight to November, singles, onto the top of the podium. Talk to me about that.
It was not my plan initially. Because we said the first time I did it would have been out of Weymouth. I didn't plan to do it that day. I remember it was home. My teammate was down there. She called me. She was like, "Have space, come and do it." Because I thought
that was Gina.
Yeah,
right.
I thought it was full. So she called me probably half hour before. It was like, "Come and try it, come and try it." And it was like, no.
So, hang on. You're saying that you didn't plan to do the singles until
she probably signed me up, like.
So this is for the pop-up workout.
Oh, the pop-up. Oh, right, okay, right.
So I just came down and said, okay, whatever, we'll just try it. Because I remember I got there, so everybody did running into the tire wall. I was like, jeez.
Yeah. That was probably the last time you felt the tire wall would be the first day you ever saw it as well.
So,
first and last time.
I didn't think it would get over it. It was the Amaris just run and jump, whatever happened.
Right.
It got over. Everybody was like, she over the tire wall.
Yeah, including me. Much to my
And
dismay, yeah.
I think that was the first thing George mentioned to me, the singles event.
Right.
But at that point in time, I was like, no, because I didn't know how to do any of these skills. I didn't have any experience with it. So at that point, it was like, just let me stick to the team and just try to learn the things as I went along.
Right.
Yeah, that was basically it. For November, she signed me up late, honestly, because I didn't actually sign up for it because I was always on the fence. I was like, no, I still don't think I'm ready for it. I can probably just go it next year after I go through it at least once and I get a feel for it. And she was like, no, just going to do it.
Do the singles.
Yeah, she's just going to try it. Just going to try it. It was like, all right, well, I just going to try it in the morning. And I did better than I expected.
Did really well.
So,
Don't want to leave out the king himself and Darren. So you let George field the questions to Darren.
Oh yeah, so yeah, Darren. Obviously, the larger Barbadian public would know you from your cycling background. I think you run a lot as well, obviously.
Yeah, I've been doing quite a bit of running. Actually, running doesn't take up as much time as the cycling, so
Right.
it's a lot easier to get out and get in a workout. You get a lot more done in an hour of running than you get in an hour of riding. So
Right.
I've been doing a lot more running and stuff like that of recent rather than the riding.
Right. And you're relatively slight, obviously, of frame
Very slight.
by comparison to some of these other beasts out there. But
Slate man rule, that's one.
but that doesn't seem to hold you back over something like bar.
No, I enjoy competition, period. And that's really my driving force. So whatever competition I put my mind to, I really try and give of my best, and I like winning, so
Right.
I always go that extra effort, and I make sure and train as hard as I can for whatever it is that we're doing.
Right. So tell me a little bit about your journey with bar. For those who don't know, Darren obviously won the overall men's title in the singles last year and was very close to winning the team event as well, ended up with a silver in that. So tell us how you found bar, how you came about it, and your journey.
Yeah, so actually, strange enough, Stuart Maloney and I train a lot together.
Right.
And he was training for, I think, was the first bar, quite
Right.
possibly, and I wasn't in the island for it, so I was never an option for that team. And when he put together his team with Mark Jordan, Dominique, and Kim, it was like a dream team, and they went
Right.
out and they dominated everything. And between Stuart and I, we have a rivalry, and that's always it's always good fun, and that's what really motivates us to train hard and that kind of thing. But nevertheless, I missed maybe first 2 bars.
Right.
I think both times being out of the country, and they'd created this. Was the right word? Where
It's dynasty.
no, the dynasty.
Oh, the team.
They were untouchable, And for me, everyone kind of had this thought that I would come on to Stuart's team, but that's never been our intention, because we
Right.
compete against each other, not
Right.
with each other.
right.
But nevertheless, so I really had to, I found out about the individual, so I was always going to gear up towards the individual, and I said, well, give the team a shot as well. There's no sense in doing all this training.
Right.
And, we do a lot of training with them as well. And I started trying to put together a team, and, we had a good team. Leanda, Sabrina, and I, and Chippy
Right.
were I can't remember the name that we use, bar benders, right? But we got Sabrina. It was Chippy, Leanda, myself, and then Sabrina came in at the in maybe last month or whatever.
Right.
But we didn't know what to expect going into the team event. But we sure had a lot of fun doing it. We trained hard. We did a lot of workouts together and stuff like that. And to come that close to winning it, not even sure if we would be able to finish it,
Right.
was surely gratifying. So
Right. I can attest to how hard you train, because I live in St. John,
Yeah.
and I would be driving around St. John or hiking around St. John, and I'd be like, wait, them is my Atlas stones? I left my Atlas. I'd be scratching my head. I left my Atlas stones here. Wait, I left my buckets here. So the man would set up their own mini course,
Right.
and train the course. And I thought I was commendable, because you have to try and put yourself in as close to race situation as possible to replicate what's going to happen on a day so you could be successful. But what are you going to compete this time around, Darren? Do you know for sure?
So I'm definitely not doing the team.
Right.
I have not. I just have personal reasons that may restrict me from being able to do the individual. But if I do get back in time and conditions allow it,
Right.
I'll definitely put entry into the individual.
Right.
A lot of people listening to the podcast right now say he coming or he ain't coming.
Right. They're hoping he's saying he's not coming.
No, definitely not the team. Definitely not doing the team event. I the team really, what does well for the team is the bond that you create and knowing each team member and stuff like that. And that's what really did for us last time. And I think that's a huge advantage that Stuart, Mark, and whoever they put together with their team. That's one
together.
Yeah, that's one of the key things that a lot of people miss out on. So
right. And I would say that every time we open registration, one of the first emails I get is Mark Jordan.
Right.
Honestly, almost as soon as registration opens, Mark sends in that registration. The team is already set, and these guys are together.
That should be a good time to let the listeners know how they can register.
Yeah, go to BarbadoSAdventureRace.com. You can register for the individual event, obviously, as well as the team. The team has 2 waves this year because we recognize that there's individuals out there who might want to try bar but not be as competitive. And so they can register for what we call the open wave, which is more of a fun run type event. The obstacles will be modified a little bit, won't be as much pressure. You can just go out there and play on the obstacles and take your time and have some fun and really enjoy the experience.
Amaris, he just mentioned people coming out for fun and what's not. You mentioned in your introduction that when you first asked people if they would want to do it, everybody was a little bit intimidated, like, I ain't sure. Have you been talking to people subsequent to your victory last year and being involved in bar more about bar? And how has the response been? Have you found that people are more willing to try bar now?
I kind of get a better response from people that would have played the sport before.
Right.
So it's always harder to kind of get somebody that, I guess, they never really run before, or they never really did anything
Or never experienced competition, yeah.
Especially coming from me, I was like, everything's easy for you. You can say that. You say, no, you have to just come out. You have time to train for it.
Yeah.
You can always come to one of the workouts that George has, or if he has the publicity, you can come and try it. But I find it's a little hesitant to get them to start. But when they actually do come and they get in the environment, the people around it, they kind of get sucked in. Yeah. But I think the hardest thing is to get them to just come and try it. Sometimes they get intimidated, but I guess the stuff they see on Instagram is like, I can't claim this, or I can't carry this, or I don't know.
I always tell people,
women, it's easier to get men to try it for sure.
Right. Because we feel we could do anything.
But to get girls to come out is always harder.
I want to ask you a question though, because you said last year was just almost like you got invited, you came out, you use a cardio to push through. Having done bar now already and coming back again now, your second go around. First of all, I understand you're on the team this year. You were on the team last year again, right? Were you? You were on the team with Gina.
Yeah, I did team event as well.
Yeah, and now how has your training for bar become more bar specific? How has your training changed?
I think last year, as I said, coming onto it, it was just general work. I guess it's when the last probably September.
I feel that you had come to some of George's classes on Friday, right?
That's probably the most training it would have gotten in terms of these skills.
Bar specific training. Right?
Yes. I think since then, you needed to work on like grip strength because it's not something that I trained a lot before. Probably getting a little bit more forearm work, just to get comfortable doing the things that I didn't like.
What were some of the more challenging things for you in bar? But last year, not that everything's been easy for Amaris.
The most challenging I think was I had to learn all the the rings and the rope. The rope wasn't, once you got it done, it was okay, but I think mentally it was to just to get it done. Because I remember I climbed the top of the rope with the first and we let down. It was like, why did they climb up here? But I think it's one of those things you just have to kind of do it, and then you get comfortable, and then it's okay. The team event, I think the hardest thing for me was the slosh tube.
Right.
That was definitely most physically challenging for me because I just remember picking it up. My back was just like, no. So you have to literally will myself to carry it because you had to carry it for about a kilometer, so it was a
It
pretty
was
long
long.
carry.
Yeah, it was really long.
And it wasn't easy.
It was stupidly long, George.
Well, I'll tell you what happened.
Painful.
I'll tell you what happened. I marked out the course. I was very happy with the course. The course was 9K long. I was like, where are you going to find a K from? Where am I going to find a K from now? Get on the log carry.
The heaviest thing for the longest
And it was near the end, it was just before the slip wall,
So
right?
I think that was another factor as well because you were exhausted by the time you got to it.
And you got back there,
So I think it literally felt like about 1,000 pounds on my back.
It was tough. But again, I think
And
one
it
of
was
the things, and it was wet. Yeah, I think one of the things with bar
Quick.
that athletes in general find really rewarding is that you don't finish it and feel that was easy. You feel challenged. So there's a greater sense of achievement when you finish it because you feel like not everybody could just turn up on the day and run through a bar course. You should either be at a pretty high fitness level already or be generally prepared for it. I saw Darren smiling when Saul asked you about your training because I think there's a little bit of psychological warfare when it comes to training. So Darren, are you willing to give out any of your secrets with respect to training, or is that something you're keeping very close to your chest?
Train in the public. We don't train in private. I mean, we run with the mountain goats on a Saturday morning quite often.
Every Saturday? Let me take my notes. Every Saturday?
I think that's coming to an end now. Where not for any bad reason is that the team is now going to be putting this house together. I think Amaris now. We started training. I say we if I'm on their team, but
breaking news. The Obstacle Killers is now reconfigured.
Yes.
So for those of you who might not be aware, the official entry is coming, so we can speak on it.
It has come in. Okay.
It has come in. So the Obstacle Killers is now comprised of Mark Jordan, Stuart Maloney, who were there before, and now Amaris, Chase, and Sabrina Thompson
on a loan.
Sabrina's on loan. Sabrina's on loan until Darren gets his team back together. Are now the Obstacle Killers. So, on paper, that team is as strong as the previous Obstacle Killers team, I think. But we have to see how it gels. But as far as advice for anybody who's looking to put a team together, Darren, or even train for the individual, what would you say to them as far as how to comprise their team?
It's all relative, again, to the course at the same time. But, I mean, the best thing to have is a team that motivates each other.
Right.
And regardless of strength, regardless of agility, whatever you bring,
right.
you need to have a team that motivates itself. People that look out for each other and make sure that they're getting the best out of what you consider the weakest link, for argument's sake.
Right.
And you can't leave a teammate behind in bar, so
right.
You really have to have that bond with your team and make sure that these are people that any day when you finish bar event, you feel like it's a new family that you've created, because some of the things are impossible to do on your own. When you talk about the log carry, I mean, I felt like I was a nail. I felt like I was just getting hammered down.
Right.
And I mean, that weighed almost as much as me.
Right.
But you can't do it on your own. Right. So you really need people that mesh well, and you need to really have somebody that motivates the team and keeps the team together and
develop that chemistry.
Yeah.
How important is it to you for there to be like a strong soul leader, or you think that you can have more than one leader on a 4-man team?
I think regardless, there will be a strongest person.
Right.
I'm
not talking about physical strength. We're talking about that person that is vocal, that person that really binds the team.
It's important, but it's how well you can motivate your team.
Right.
So at the end of the day, sometimes the weaker person can be the motivating factor. So
exactly,
I mean, it's all relative, but you really need to have the motivation and the bond to really get each other going, to getting the best out of each one of them.
Right. Now, I've seen teams that when you look at the individuals on the team, you might look and say, well, that person is the weakest link on the team, because the other three might be elite athletes when it comes to running or strength or whatever, and that fourth person seems not to be as fit or as strong. But very often that fourth person brings an element that maybe some of the others don't have. That person may be really good on the skills, or they might be a motivator, or they might just have something that helps to bring people together. And you see those teams on or about the podium.
Yeah.
Even though that individual could never win a 3K race.
A lot of times what happens too is that some person may not be very strong individually, but be very strong in a team environment.
Correct.
Whereas that they have these people around them pushing them and not necessarily competing against them, but competing with them then. Right. So then you start, it brings up more in you. It's like when you got a coach encouraging you along the course. So I think that is a factor as well.
Yeah. So Amaris, since you are actually going to be taking part in the individual event again, how do you feel about your chances? You think that you're going to repeat?
I think this year will definitely be a lot more competitive. Okay. I think I saw, in terms of the training, I really like the fact that I think it's more structured coming up. I think people started training a lot earlier this time around. Right. I think last year, a lot of people recognized, I guess, the weaknesses of the people that needed to run. Right. Started running earlier, the ones that thought it needed to be a little bit stronger. I saw putting a little bit more effort into the gym work. So.
Look at me directly when it's so.
Well, I think it'll be more competitive.
What I'm hearing you saying is train as hard as when I want, I can still crush with her. That's what I heard. That's what
I know people say that's exactly how I heard. It's going to be a little bit more competitive. I respect all of my competitors.
Amaris said that she's going to podium in the meals.
Oh, wow. Well, I will say that even though it was set up slightly different last year, if you had run in the male division last year, I think you would have placed 12. Right. So that was out of a field of 25. So I think that's still quite an achievement. And I think you're probably the only person who ran a clean course. Darren, did you run a clean course in the males? You had an obstacle as well. When I saw your time and people told me that you did not run a clean course, I was like, how in heaven's name did he have burpees and still come under 10 minutes? You ran at 8 something, right?
17 something.
3K. It was a 3K.
It's 3K.
Yeah, it was under 20 minutes.
It was under 20 minutes, but it wasn't under 10 minutes. For sure. Who the hell is this man?
Yeah, not under 10 minutes. Under 20 minutes for sure, yeah. So I think I'm looking forward to the individual event this year as well myself, because I see, like you said, Amaris, I see a lot more preparation. I see people who would never have done the individual before really focusing on it this time as their main event, and then looking to maybe do the team event just for fun. Darren, I know you said you'd never do the team event. You can't do the team event this year around because of other commitments. Could you ever see yourself doing bar in a non-competitive environment? So, for example, you came back and there were 3 people who were like beginners, and you're like, I'm gonna run along with these 3 and just coach them along. Man, shaking back when any place you said this. So you could never see yourself doing that.
And that's not just not in your DNA to be an also ran.
I can't even get the question answered. I said, George, what thoughts is this you asking me?
No, it's really not something I aspire to do. I really want to be competitive. I really want to, if I go out there. And I mean, at the same time, I treasure the team that we put together. And
I still in the WhatsApp group. The boy left the WhatsApp group.
I left the WhatsApp group. But no, not for any bad reason. But I mean, I knew I could not do it. I knew I could not train with the team. I knew, so we had the conversation, and the team still wanted to do it. Right. And then I think I really not even sure, but Sabrina went over to the other team briefly.
We don't call her name. The other team is how we refer to them.
Just briefly. So I mean, any day Sabrina, I think. And when she sees this, we'll know that she has to come back to her original team.
What about Leander? What about Chippy and Leander?
Yeah, Leander is still training, doing a lot of training. Not sure if she's going to do the individual or what she's doing. And Chippy, I mean, I still see Chippy doing some running here and there with the mountain goats and stuff. But for sure, we when I'm available, I definitely going after my original team first, and then, if anyone
after that top place on the podium as well, aren't you?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the objective is always to be first. I mean,
of course,
you're not really going out there to dirty clothes for no reason.
Right.
I definitely I've saddened that I'm missing the team one, but I wouldn't go out there just to say that I competed.
Right.
But if I can come, definitely doing the individual. And I mean, I don't know how good my fitness will be. I'd be frank with you. I hate a gym.
Right.
I personally hate a gym. I have no upper body strength. I struggle with those things, but I could run all day.
Right.
So in terms of how much training I would do coming up to the individual, I may just be run. If I do compete, it'd just be on running ability and some push-ups at home.
Right.
Tell me though, because you said you would have been training and coming up to the last one, you already were doing the singles and the team event. When you were in the singles, after the training, did you do any of the pop-up workouts?
I did one
pop-up.
Team pop-up.
The team pop-up.
Part,
Right, but when you came into the individual event, was there any obstacle, aside from the tire wall, obviously, because you had to do burpees there, that you went and you were like, wow, this is a little bit more challenging than I thought it would be?
So I had a little, up to now, I think I had an issue with my shin training for bar last year period. And that kind of hampered my running and jumping. So I really wasn't sure if I'd be able to do the walls. And I really wasn't able to train doing any kind of jumping and stuff like that. So I was hesitant on the walls and stuff like that, and at the same time favoring a leg and a little little conscious of it. But I think I'd like to see the individual be touch longer, touch heavier.
Excuse you.
No, I just mean in general, because it kind of creates a balance. Last year I could run. I was weak, but I could run. And at the end of the day, the guys that were strong, they could carry, but they can't run as fast. So I mean, a touch longer would help the runners, help it for the outright runners, and then a touch heavier would help the stronger men catch up.
It's interesting you say that, because that was going to come to my next question. So at OCR World Championships, which is what both of you qualified for. For those of you who don't know, home bar is a World Championship qualifier. The distances are 3K, and then from 3K, it goes to 15K. So you're 3K or 15K. Now at World OCR, which is a different federation, you have the 100 meter, the 400 meter, 800 meter, 3K, and then again, it goes all the way up to 15. So I've found that most of the races, when they get to the longer distances, they become less obstacle dense. So there's more and more running and less obstacles. That's why I feel I like the 3K type distance. You could almost pack it with obstacles. And we've got a bunch of new obstacles coming for you this year that are going to be a little bit more technical and so on. Because I don't want it to be just a guy who's really fit could do burpees on every obstacle and just catch back up on the running.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But speaking about World Championships now, obviously we have a COVID situation this year, but your qualification still holds for the next World Championships. Are you two thinking about going out there to fly the Barbados flag proud at any of these events?
I would definitely be interested. I think anyone who wins at bar locally has that mindset that they would be interested in going. Truthfully, that's something that Stuart, Mark, and because I think the team setup is a little different and I think it's something that we were really at the same time we've not discussed it in detail, but it's definitely something that we would do as a team and as the individual, because I think how is the team one? It's 3 males, and 2 females, is it?
At Worlds, there's a couple different events, but it's more like a relay rather than a team event. And so, like, one person does something that's very skill dominant, another person does something that's very heavy, one person does something that's very running oriented, and then you come together for one last obstacle. Whereas bar is a team event completely from start to finish, which I like. I like our setup because it really is about working together as a team and staying together as a team throughout the whole event.
You're listening to the Barcast podcast right now, and thank you so much for joining us. Hold a second. So, Amaris, tell me about your plans for the OCR event.
Yes, I think it was definitely exciting when I qualified for it. And it was something that I think, I don't know, I guess it's kind of hard to kind of look at things. It's not like track, you can kind of look at your times and see how you would compare because the course will be different each time.
Right.
But
That's an interesting point.
I think I like the fact that we get to learn new obstacles and get to try new stuff. It will be a different competitive environment, and you will see kind of the level that the people around the world are at, any kind of stuff that they like to do. So I think it's something that I would definitely like to try.
And nothing would really prepare you for it, though, like actually going there, I guess, and doing it again, a feel for it because, I guess you competed internationally already, so you would know it's hard to ride a bicycle fast in Barbados, but when you get to another country and you got to ride against other people, you realize that some of the things that we call hills here in Barbados are necessarily a hill.
No, I think the difference with bar is that no matter how hard you train, you're somewhat always out of your comfort zone. So exactly what Amaris touched on, in that it's not by the book, it's not by a time that you're a reference point, so to speak, because it's irrelevant. It's really how you put it together on the day. So you're never in your comfort zone. You're never
Got to get comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yeah, you're always, and I mean, even when you think you're comfortable, and then George will come and throw a shocking wire in there, or it's always something outside of the comfort zone. So however you look at it, it's a lot more mental preparation than there's a lot more. You just need to be open-minded and open to suffering, open to pain, and that's the thrill of it, really.
So
how can I learn to enjoy pain more? I want to learn to enjoy pain like y'all guys.
Looking at the podium of bar.
I say pain is always faithful to you. It's always going to be there. Pleasure comes and goes, but pain is always around the corner waiting for you. But with all that said, we don't want to deter any newbies out there who are like, I want to do that bar thing, but these men talking about living with pain. What would you say, Amaris, to that individual out there who's thinking about doing bar for the first time but might be a little bit intimidated by it?
I will tell them to just come out and try it. I think things always could be visually intimidating. You might look at the wall and you might look tall, but you stand up next to it and you jump and realize you can actually reach the top. Or the balls may look heavy, then you pick it up and realize, well, I can actually carry it. So I think you should just come and try it, and it definitely gets easier as the weeks go by. So the first week, you might find the bucket may be a little heavy, but then the next week you come, you realize that you can carry it a little further, or you can walk with it a little faster. So there's always improvement. So I think that is something I look forward to. Each week I get a little bit better, so I continue to train, and that encourages me.
So you think there's any chance at all that you don't double gold medal in November?
There's always a chance. I think, as you said, bar is one of those things where anything can happen on the day.
Right.
So it could be an obstacle that you're comfortable with, and then you slip on the day, or you don't know what the conditions are going to be like. I think last year, definitely for day 2, when the rain fell, the course completely changed.
The course did change.
So the monkey bars, for example, that were easy the day before, people struggled with those. Mud all over the road. I think there's definitely things that can happen. So just mentally prepare and come out and do the best.
Right. And
So the intention though is to double gold medal.
Yes.
All right. Let me see how we put this in there. What chance to give it? 0 to 100% chance of a double gold medal for Amaris Chase in November.
100.
As you said, there's always a chance. So 99.9. I don't want
wow, 99.9% people. You heard it here first.
But we already know it's a 0% chance of Darren doing the team. If you are able to compete in the individuals, Darren, and even though you said your training is going to be limited, you're not going to be doing the gym, etc. 0 to 100% chance that Darren Matthews retains the title.
So it depends on how hard Salt training. I see Salt doing more training than anybody else now. So
I've been featured heavily. It's more in terms of media.
Only when the camera's on.
Yeah, only when the camera's on. Favorite thing about bar before we wrap it up, guys, to encourage anyone listening right now and trying to thinking about competing. What's your absolute favorite thing about bar?
I love the environment. I think it's something that I kind of came into, and I just love the fact that even though everybody's competing against each other, that they're still encouraging each other. That it's a healthy competition, and I think that's something that kind of keeps me bonded to it. Like, well, for me, that was it.
The gratification that you can get for yourself, you know, if you're someone that down on confidence or you need a little bit of motivation for something, you know, the gratification that you get from looking at an atlas stone and thinking that you can't and then realizing that you can and those kind of things. I mean, mentally, for a lot of people, it can do a lot of good.
Right.
So I think it should go as a motivator for a lot of people to help them get out of the comfort zone and really, you know, become more self-confident and realizing what the human body can do, because it's amazing.
Absolutely, absolutely.
All right, once again, George, you got to remind people how they can register, because I'm sure lots of people listening to the Barcast right now are fully convinced that they should sign up and get up off the tail and do the right thing.
Absolutely. Remember, there's this year for the individual event, there's the Race for a Cause, which is our big charity drive. So go onto the website, BarbadosAdventureRace.com. Click on the Amaroni Race for a Cause. When you register, select the charity that you'd like a donation to be made to. Make sure you read the page. There's lots of ways to get involved. You can tag us on social media. You can raise some funds amongst your gyms and your friends, and make sure you register for that individual event. And of course, there's our marquee event, which is the ICBL Team Challenge. You can do that to be competitive, to try and beat Amaris and her team and get on top of the podium. Or you can do it, you know, for a first-time thing where you're just having fun and you do our open wave. Definitely do not forget the Republic Bank Corporate Challenge, because in my opinion, that's where the growth of this event is going to come from. Friends and families and companies using it as a team-building event to bond and build some camaraderie. So follow us on Instagram, BAR_RACE, Barbados Adventure Race on Facebook. And if you're still looking for a team, remember we have the Barbados Adventure Race Team Finder page on Facebook, where you can go in there and say, you know, I'm looking for a team to be obstaclers. I got 3 elite athletes so far. I just need 1 more. Join our team and help us get on top of that podium.
Hey, okay, guys, I want to thank you all so much for joining us, taking that time out of your day to be here with us on the Barcast today. And thank you so much for listening to the Barcast once again. Of course, you know, we're ramping up for BAR November the 21st and 22nd of 2020. It's going to be great. It's going to be epic. You need to be there. If you're not competing, be there to spectate.
Correct. Looking forward to see you all on November 21st and 22nd.